Proper livestock ventilation will save you money in unexpected ways. Livestock ventilation is required to control dust, gases, pathogens, temperature, and moisture. Even when it's cold outside, you need ventilation to remove moisture, gases, and dust. What might be less obvious is that ensuring animals have the right amount of ventilation increases their feed efficiency and decreases your feed costs. Dr. Richard Gates, a professor and extension specialist at the University of Illinois, studies livestock productivity.
The feed is probably the largest single cost that most contract swine growers encounter. It's very important for them to control temperatures within the structure so that they don't waste feed. If it's too cold inside, the pigs are going to eat much more feed than they need. Why? Just to generate heat to stay warm. If it's too hot inside, they're not going to eat enough, they're not going to grow, it's going to take much longer to market. Studies show that there could be as much as an additional month of production required if hot temperatures can't be controlled. In a modern facility like we have here, the feed conversion efficiency is optimized, and the way it's optimized is by controlling the temperature, because we have a modern ventilation system with very good environment control and managers that understand how to maintain and operate the system.
This is the main tool that we pretty much, that's why it's always right here by the door. As soon as you walk in, you can see if anything.
And you can also basically see this by room on your phone, smartphone.
Yes. All of these inside temperatures are different probes that are hanging through the barn. So whenever temperature gets to a certain set point, then pit fans start kicking on.
Fans are turned on at certain temperatures, but the number of fans that are turned on depends on the age of the animals.
So as the pigs get older, the steps go up. So you can increase them by 5%, 10%, as the pigs get older. If you run your ventilation right, there's times when we would have 30-day-old pigs, and it's 13 below zero outside, and we would have a 20-minute to a 45-minute heating period in a 24-hour day. Wow. If you don't know what you're doing with the ventilation side of it, it can really cost a lot of money. If your ventilation is wrong and you're sucking all that heat out of that room with your pit fans and everything else, yeah.
To save energy on ventilation, a good system has many fans that are turned on only as needed.
You don't want to run heaters if you can rely on animal heat, as long as the air quality is good enough to maintain that temperature range, that so-called thermo-neutral temperature range, where you can get good feed conversion efficiency without using any more fuel than necessary.
Young animals in winter require the least amount of energy, large animals in summer the most.
We open up one end of the building, we turn on most or all of the fans at the other end, and a lot of fresh air, much more air than is necessary to remove the pollutants, comes into the building. But we have all that air to remove body heat from the animals, to try to make them feel an effective temperature which is lower than the actual temperature of the air.
Ventilation efficiency, getting the most out of every watt used, starts with thoughtful placement of openings for the fresh air that fans pull into the building. Livestock operations frequently use a tunnel design.
Basically what you're looking at here is the tunnel side of a long, double-wide swine finishing unit. The left side room is on the east side. The sun's warming it up more rapidly than on the right side, so there's more fans operating already. The reason that the curtain's not wide open is because we want to promote good mixing, and we want to have enough of a static pressure between the inside of the building and the outside, so that as this air goes through the curtain opening, it's thrown in at 600 to 1,000 feet per minute and promotes really good mixing, so that there's not a dead spot right on the other side of the curtain. And as more and more fans come on, this curtain will open more and more until finally it's completely open and all the fans are running. So you can see here right now the tunnel curtain is dropping down a little bit. That's because probably at least one more fan came on. Why is it opening? To maintain a uniform velocity of air going in, somewhere between 600 feet per minute and 1,000. And when I put my hand in front of this, I can really feel the airflow.
In order to see the path of airflow, researchers use a theatrical smoke machine that produces a harmless vapor.
So this is the definition of tunnel ventilation.
Ceiling inlets are also employed. When temperatures are cool, this may be the only path of fresh air into the building.
So at lower ventilation rates, when we're not in tunnel mode, the system operates a little bit differently. The air isn't brought in through the tunnel curtains, but rather it's brought in through attic air inlets. So the air enters through the soffits, goes up into the attic, and then the vacuum from the fans pulls it through the inlet. The soffit is wide open. It only has bird netting to prevent birds from going inside. Air can go up into the attic over the insulation, and then it's pulled down through the ceiling inlets. If the inlets are operating properly, as you see here with the smoke blasting along the ceiling, that's promoting a good ceiling jet. That smoke is showing you how the jet's behaving. When it goes to the center towards the other attic inlet, it drops down. That's because the jet from the other inlet and this jet are meeting, and it's forcing it down.
With good air mixing, ventilation fans don't need to be on as much to maintain air quality. This will save in energy to run fans and heaters.
So that nice roll, that vortex, is the basis for good interior air mixing. What it's doing is putting that fresh air right down where it needs to go, but first giving it time to stay along the ceiling and modify its temperature so that the pigs aren't too cold or too hot. And it's replacing all the stale air where you see that smoke going with nice, fresh, new air.
To sum up, ventilation is important to control the temperature and air velocity across animals, which in turn optimizes feed efficiency. Ventilation is also important to control odors, gas levels from animals and heaters, dust, and pathogens. A good design utilizes mixing and ventilation stages to do all this using the minimum amount of energy.